Good evening and welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that will have taken place in our country over the past week or so. And as is the norm, Guyana is a dynamic country, and in any given week, there is always a full agenda of items and issues worthy of discussion. This week is no different. I want to begin by welcoming and extending good evening greetings to all of our viewers who are joining us on television in West Coast Berbice. Good evening, Mahaika to Rosignol and beyond on that side of the Berbice River. Good evening across the eastern bank of the Berbice River. Good evening to all of you who are joining us on NTN 69 television, New Amsterdam, Kanji, and of course, right along the Quarantine Coast. Good evening and welcome to all of you who are joining us on television in those communities, all the way to Crabwood Creek. And in fact, they have people way down the Quarantine River who tell me that I'm omitting them. I Shalton. Good evening. I understand that you are looking at me as well. On those of you who are joining us from Freedom Radio in Rob Street, Georgetown, good evening and welcome to another program of Issues in the News. And the tens of thousands of you who are joining us on various Facebook Live platforms, good evening and welcome to another program of Issues in the News. Right across Guyana, the Caribbean, and of course I can't forget the Cayman Islands where I visited, and so many of you are looking at us on Facebook Live from the Cayman Islands, North America, all the major cities where Guyanese live, and also cities where we don't think Guyanese live. They follow this program in North America. In Europe, I met so many people in Holland recently who watched this program, from England, from Belgium, from right across continental Europe. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. And across the Pacific Ocean, Asia, you have people in India who are looking at this program, Sri Lanka, Australia, and all over the world. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. And as I sit here speaking, I just realized that Issues in the News is celebrating its 7th year. This program started in 2015, and it's now the end of 2022. So we have been together for the past 7 years, and I want to thank you very much for being such loyal and passionate viewers and patrons of this program. I know the names by heart. As I said, I would like to make this program as interactive as possible. As soon as I look at the screen, I see a long-standing viewer. Tilak Dari Bikam, Shirley Autar. I saw Pandit Shavdrinath Deonarain, Mark Wilson from Brooklyn, another long-standing viewer, Hukum Chan Riwa, Srat Kublal, Jasper Sad, I saw Marde Virasamy, Joycelyn Hussein, Firoz Wahid, Ali Ahmad, so many names that I think that I know these people, although I've never met them. You have been with me for years, Gil from Orlando, and so many of you who have formed part of the fixture on the screen. Thank you for being with us and being with me for so many years, and for being loyal and dedicated viewers and contributors to this program. I want to thank you very much, and please let me continue to have your views so that I can interact with you and we can make the program even better as we conclude 2022 and commence a new year, come 2023. 2023 also we will have a new studio, but we'll discuss that later. Aaron Norman Sr., welcome Abda Rafi Kali, welcome Dev Singh, welcome Ganesh Iran, welcome Lynn Aladdin or Aladdin, welcome, and welcome to you all to another program of Issues in the News. So we are in the festive season, and as usual, Christmas in Guyana, as many of you who would have experienced Christmas in Guyana but living outside of Guyana, you would know that Christmas in Guyana is special. It is unique. I have been to many, many countries. I've spent Christmas in some of them, but the Guyanese Christmas is incomparable. Incomparable. The festivities here are so special that you have to be here to experience Christmas. The atmosphere is electrifying with love, with festivity, with joy, with merriment. And that is why I say that there is no Christmas, any part of the world, that can compare with or be compared with the Christmas of Guyana. I am happy to be here, and I wish all of you would come and visit us. All of you who are overseas would come and visit us. And I know that you are coming by the hundreds, if not thousands, because I've been checking the airlines, and it is almost impossible to get a ticket from North America into Guyana at this point in time. That's because so many of you are returning to join us in celebrating Christmas 2022. It is going to be, again, a very special time, a very special season. We have begun our usual Christmas festivities across the length and breadth of Guyana. When I say we, I mean the government. And we have been sharing toys, helping to spread the Christmas spirit, helping to spread the Christmas cheer, ensuring that every family has a hamper, ensuring that every child across the length and breadth of this country has a toy for Christmas. Government is spending a lot of money in distributing toys. All of our ministerial colleagues are out across the length and breadth of Guyana in assigned areas to do that, and the efforts will be intensified within the next few days as we begin to build that spirit that I speak about. Last Sunday, I attended 3 beautiful functions. I attended the old folks party in Enterprise, and I mingled with over 150 of our senior citizens who were treated with hamper, meals, monetary gifts, etc. And these are efforts largely coordinated by Enterprise residents who are now permanently overseas, both in the United States and in Canada, in collaboration with their local counterparts at the Village of Enterprise. I also attended a children party at Enterprise organized by the family of Navin and Sons contractors, a beautiful children's party. Santa Claus was in attendance, and hundreds of children were there, and they were treated with meals, goodies, sweets, drinks, and of course, gifts of toys. Then I went to Vrijslust South, a small community south of the railway embankment, and I joined hands with a small sports committee in that community, and we distributed over 300 pieces of toys to children in that community. Then on Monday, I had a massive social party for children and adults at Annandale on the east coast of Demerara. I have been doing that party for the past 15 or more years, and this year it was the biggest. We had about 600 or 700 children, and then their parents came and old people came. Over 1,000 adults were there. In fact, I had to call in the police to get some semblance of order. But everyone got a ham. The children were fed. They were given sweets, drinks, and of course, every one of them got a toy. The adults were given hampers, and these hampers and this entire effort was a collaboration between the government, who gave the toys, and of course, many business persons in the community of Annandale and close by, and also on the east coast of Demerara and in Georgetown. They contributed generously to make that event not only possible, but a success. Next year we have to organize it better because too many persons are converging on the event, and the physical capability of hosting an event like that is now under threat. I can't do it unless it's regulated. But importantly, we tried as far as possible to ensure that every person who was there, adult, got a hamper, and every child, of course, was fed and given confectionery, sweets, drinks, food, and a hamper, and a gift of a toy. We went across to Monrepo this morning and did another kid toy distribution in the village of Monrepo and Martysville. And we are continuing along the East Coast. Tomorrow I'll be somewhere in Friendship, Buxton, to do some more toys distribution among our children. And then I'm moving on, hopefully, to West Coast Berbice, to some identified communities with which I have worked for several years. And of course, they will benefit from our toy distribution drive. So we have a packed agenda until the end of the year, and certainly before Christmas. So please keep following, and next year I hope that some of you who are listening to me and who are viewing this program can come to Guyana, join hands with us here, and help us spread the Christmas spirit and the spirit of festivities. Last week I dealt at length with the issue of pavement vending, street vending, encumbering our roadways, encumbering the city streets, and the dangers that those activities posed to owners of properties, to citizens who reside in the city, to businesses who conduct their business affairs in the city, and also to users of the city, in particular those who try to get public services, including public health services. We simply cannot continue to encumber our roadways and our public streets and our pavements with unlawful and illegal vending. The government, as you know, central government, has a power. Right now, first of all, let me make it clear that City Council controls the city. City Council controls all the roads. City Council controls the streets. And City Council has duties under the law. You see, once you have a power, that power comes with responsibility. The mayor claims that central government is usurping his authority, is trespassing on his functional responsibilities. But the mayor must understand that unless he discharges his statutory functions, unless he discharges his legal duties, then central government will have no choice but to take over those responsibilities. And central government has a power to do so. There is a power in the law which central government does not wish to activate. And central government can take over every street within the precincts of the city and take charge of management of those streets. It is not something that central government would like to do. But the mayor and city council must understand that if they neglect to execute their statutory functions, if they act in breach of their statutory duties, if they neglect and refuse to carry out their obligations under the law, then they can be sued and central government can take over. So let me read quickly as one person who is looking at the program has asked me to do. A gentleman by the name of Ricky Ram has asked me to explain the laws of the city council. So the city council is governed by the Municipal and District Councils Act, Chapter 2801, Laws of Guyana. I repeat, the Municipal and District Councils Act, Chapter 2801, Laws of Guyana. And Section 302 of that Act, paragraph 25, Section 302, subparagraph 25, or subsection 25 if you wish, reads, they list the duties of the council, and it says, to prohibit trespass in alleyways and the encumbering of public and council roads and the parapets thereof and of pavements. Let me read that. These here, they list the duties of the council. And it says at 25, subsection 25, to prohibit trespass in alleyways and the encumbering of public and council roads. So to prohibit trespass in alleyways and to prohibit the encumbering of public and council roads and the parapets thereof and of pavements. Very, very clear. The council has a duty to prohibit the trespass in alleyways, to prohibit the trespass of public roads or encumbering of public roads and council roads, and the trespass and encumbering of parapets and pavements. Section 302, subsection 25 of the Municipal and District Councils Act. So you have it in cold, black and white, very simple language. The council has a duty to rid the city streets, rid the parapets, rid the council roads of any encumbrance and the pavement of any encumbrance. They must prohibit all encumbrance. This mayor and city council, on the contrary, is encouraging and worse yet, defending the encumbering of public streets, public roads, public pavements, and public parapets. They are supposed to prohibit. They are not only permitting, but they are defending the encumbering of public roads, city streets, pavements, and parapets. How is this at any level defensible? And you hear the mayor so abusive of the president when the president and his government is seeking to get the city council to simply carry out its statutory duties. When I was a lawyer in private practice, I went to court several times. I went to the High Court several times on behalf of many business persons and business entities in Georgetown. And I got what is called a writ of mandamus. A writ of mandamus directed to the town clerk and the city council, compelling them to enforce section 302, subsection 25 of the Municipal and District Council Act. I got a judge to order them to enforce and to carry out their responsibilities by a writ of mandamus. A writ of mandamus is directed by a High Court judge to a statutory officer or statutory tribunal, compelling them to carry out their lawful duties when there is a neglect to do so. I appeared for many businessmen and got orders of mandamus or writs of mandamus directing the town clerk, directing city engineer, and directing the mayor and city council to clear pavements in front of their businesses because they are refusing to do so. Business persons, businessmen and women have to also play their part, and they have to also take legal actions. I have pointed you to the law, and I hope the reporters who are looking at this program will report this section so that the public would be aware that they are not without remedy. A resident whose house or living accommodation is blocked by unlawful vending on the pavement can go to a judge and get an order directing the city council to come and clear that vendor or clear that encumbrance. So can the owners of businesses in Georgetown. So I hope they act upon this advice. This must not be a government fight alone. This involves everyone. As I said last week, it's a matter of public order. It's a matter of the rule of law. And I am not at all impressed with the argument that vendors have to vend. Vendors have to vend. I understand that. I respect the right of everyone to earn an honest living. But they have to do so within the confines of the law. I am a lawyer. I couldn't go and set up my practice in the avenue of the Republic. I couldn't do it on the avenue in Main Street. I couldn't do it in the avenue on that tent on Camp Street. I have a right to live too. To rent an office is an expensive thing. But civilized society, civilization tells you that you simply can't, in your quest to earn a livelihood, affect others from enjoying their livelihood and earning their livelihood. I spoke about the competition that these vendors are giving the businesses because they are vending right outside of those people's stores. The people now have to bring their goods outside on the pavement to sell, to compete with the vendors. And these vendors, they don't pay taxes. So this situation simply can't continue. It is my duty as the Legal Affairs Minister to highlight these matters for public consumption and to advise the government to take the necessary legal steps to bring remedy to what obviously is a serious infraction of the law and something that is causing great public disquiet, public inconvenience, and public suffering. So let's move on. I dealt with that already. I wanted tonight to spend some time in looking at what we have done this year briefly and to give you an outline of what we plan to do on our legislative landscape, at least for next year. So this year, Guyana's parliament passed 25 pieces of legislation. That must be the most legislation passed by any parliament in the Caribbean. 25 pieces of legislation were passed for the year 2022. That is an average of 2 pieces of legislation per month. That is a record by any standard. By any standard. 2 pieces, an average of 2 legislation per month were passed by the Guyana Parliament for the year 2022. We would have doubled any other country in the Caribbean with that rate of enactment of laws. We don't plan to slow down next year. In fact, we will accelerate our agenda for next year. In addition to that, this year we have concluded the revision of the laws of Guyana. Revision of laws is the exercise whereby you get all the different pieces of amendments and you insert them into the principal acts that they have amended. So when you now read that principal act, the amendments are incorporated and it reads smoothly. You don't have to get 2 pieces, the principal act and then read the amendments. Revision merges the two, law revision. And it also puts together the new principal legislation and consolidate them into the volumes of the laws of Guyana by chapter, starting with chapter 1, the Constitution. Law revision is a very important exercise because it keeps the country's laws updated. Secondly, it keeps them consolidated. And thirdly, it makes them accessible and easy to consult. So it must be done at regular intervals. In 1977, we concluded one set of revisions of our laws. And we did not do another revision of our laws until 2012. From 1977 until 2012, nearly 30 years, we didn't do, over 30 years, we didn't do law revision. We did one in 2012, and we are now doing one that will update our laws from 2012 to December 31st, 2022, and we will get a new copy of different volumes of this. This is what the 2012 consolidated revised laws look like. Well, from this, all the laws that we have passed from 2012 to 2022, 31st of December, we will have a revised set of new laws now. And then going forward, we'll have to revise again. Every country has to do it so that your laws are kept updated and accessible, easily accessible. That is a massive exercise because, as you know, as I just said, for 2022 alone, we passed 25 pieces of new legislation, just for 2022. And we are doing 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. So we are doing 10 years. So it's a lot of work and we are getting help, but it is a lot of work that has to be done. So that's a major accomplishment which we will complete this task early 2023 because the cutoff point is 31st of December 2022. Of course, you can't get it immediately after that. The work is ongoing and it will finish on or before the first quarter of 2023. Then another important issue in a legal system is law reports of a country. Law reports is that mechanism whereby important decided cases are taken, the judgments are briefed and then put together in a law report. In law reports. You know, cases are decided by precedents. Judges follow the rulings of previous judges on similar points of law. And then you have a court system that's based upon the doctrine of precedent. So if the Caribbean Court of Justice, the highest court, decides a case, that decision on that issue binds all courts below it, and it comes in that hierarchical structure. From the Caribbean Court of Justice, then you have the Court of Appeal, then you have the full court, then the High Court, then the Magistrates Court. So these law reports, they contain all the important cases. So lawyers, law students, and judges can go to these reports when they are deciding cases or when they are researching or when they are making legal submissions, and they can reference cases that have already been decided on issues that are before the court and use those cases to persuade the court to abide by a particular ruling by a higher court or by the same court at the same level. So law reporting is a very important component in a legal system. So the last time I was Attorney General, we completed from 1977 to 2007. Now we are working on 2007 to 2020. I'm not boasting, but from 1977 to 2012, that exercise was done by several attorneys general, but concluded when I was there. I was the Attorney General in 2012. The law reports, again, I was there in 2012. From 1977, we concluded it in 2012. Now we are doing it from 2012 to 2007, to 2020. So check how many years of law reports we are compiling. Work has begun, and that is a project that will also see fruition next year. Next year also, we will see the Constitutional Reform Commission appointed and will begin the important task of reforming our Constitution. We have already publicly pledged that that commission will hold public consultations across the length and breadth of Guyana. Its composition is already known. It's not a politically influenced commission, but it has 50% political membership and 50% civil society membership. The 50% political membership comes from the political parties in the parliament, and the other 50% from civil society organizations. And their mandate is to go out there, hear the people, solicit their views, and to make recommendations in respect of reforming the Constitution. That important task will begin in earnest in 2023. The building has already been identified, it has already been equipped, and we will begin to put the infrastructure, the operational infrastructure in place in terms of human resources and the secretariat, etc., so that the work, once the commission has to be appointed, and once appointed, it will move smoothly into the important exercise of constitutional reform. Importantly, also in the year 2023, work will begin on the establishment, for the first time in our history, of a law school in Guyana. As you know, we have gotten the green light from the Council of Legal Education to begin the preparatory work. A feasibility study is being worked on. It will be completed early next year, and a report will be submitted to the Council of Legal Education. I have made it abundantly clear that the government of Guyana will work in tandem with the Council of Legal Education, and this law school that will be accommodated in Guyana will be a law school of the Council of Legal Education. It's not going to be a Guyana law school. It will be a regional institution within the framework of the Council of Legal Education legislation that is in all the territories. It's going to be like the Hewarding Law School, like the Norman Manley Law School, and it will be zoned to accommodate, of course, Guyanese students, but more importantly, students from across the Caribbean. It will be a West Indian regional educational institution. Work will begin earnestly on that in the year 2023. I also want to deal with some of the new legislation that we will be working on in the year 2023. The arbitration bill is already a work in progress and will be laid in the Parliament in 2023. This will be the most modern arbitration law in the Caribbean. In fact, it's a CARICOM model legislation. Guyana will be the first country, I think, to implement it. Training has already begun at the level of the judiciary, at the level of the private sector, at the level of the legal profession on this law. A lot more training has to be done because it's a brand new infrastructure, and it is expected to bring Guyana, to convert Guyana into a modern arbitration institution. We want to make Guyana the arbitration hub for the Caribbean. But first of all, we want to make Guyana self-sufficient. We want to ensure that all these major contracts and projects that we are signing every day, where the arbitration has to be done in North America or in Europe, we can have the arbitration done right here and keep millions and millions of dollars here and employ our own people and keep the money within Guyana. And at the same time, attract arbitrations from the region to come here. We got to get the thing first. The first thing is that new legislative infrastructure. Then we have to build the physical infrastructure to accommodate it, because this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Then we are working on a whole host of bills. For example, a patient personal information bill with international medical institutions such as Mount Sinai, Northwell, and all these important medical institutions that are partnering with our public health authorities in Guyana to offer medical services. We have to modernize the medical sector. And an important component of this modernization is to have the legislative infrastructure to accumulate, store, and use patients' personal medical data. You know, in America, a doctor will not touch you unless he knows your medical history. Well, these international medical operators are requiring that, and rightfully so in Guyana, because these people have their brand, they have a name to protect. They are not going to sully their reputation here and drop their standards when they come here. We have to build up standards to meet them, and this is one of the requirements. When they touch a patient, they want to know the patient's history and the patient's antecedents and hereditary medical history as well. So we have to get the legislative base done to get that information and put it in a data bank so that you can use it. So we are working on that bill. Then we passed a new single window legislation. Well, we haven't passed it, but it was laid in the National Assembly. Now, this piece of legislation is of crucial importance in modernizing and making efficient administration and to rid the public infrastructure and the public administrative structure of unwanted bureaucracy. This bill, single window, is to achieve that process. It is to dispense with all the red tapes, dispense with all the delays, dispense with maladministration, dispense with bribery and corruption, and so that you can get citizens can get their business done in the public administration of central government swiftly and efficiently. So if you want to build, you go and you will be told what all the requirements are. You have to get a plan, you have to get a whole host of things. You do all the applications out and you drop it at one single window. And they tell you come back in 6 months to pick up all your approvals. Your fire pass, your fire permission, central housing and planning permission, public health permission if you need that, mayor and city council approval for your plans, everything. And this bill has a mechanism that when it goes to a particular office, if it stays there within a particular time frame and it is not dealt with by that particular agency, it is deemed to be granted. Whatever that agency had to do, the law says it will be presumed that it was granted and the application moves on. It's a very powerful system, and hopefully it will bring great efficiency into the public administration so that we can get to do business quickly and swiftly in Guyana. E-transaction, e-payment bills are two pieces of legislation that will also come on stream. 2023, this is where we are going to introduce and allow for the use of plastic in public institution. Payments, we have to move in that direction. Dispense with money and so on, and use cards in the public sector. So you go to the registry, you go to file your transport, etc. You can use credit cards now. Well, we are moving in that direction. Amendments to the Companies Act is also on the agenda. The Companies Act was passed in 1991, and obviously 3 decades after, in an oil economy that is, companies are proliferating at an amazing pace. By sheer passage of time, we need to relook at that. So work has begun already, and we are consulting with the various important and relevant sectors, and amendments are being drafted for the Companies Act. A modern waste management bill is currently being worked on as well, because we have waste management is always a sore issue in Guyana, and we don't have modern legislation. We have been working on modern legislation for a while now. We have consultants hired, they are working on it. However, with the advent of oil and gas now, you have a new component coming on board, and that will now be merged into the bill that we are working on. We have an anti-dumping bill that will protect our economy from bad goods, for want of a better word. You know, a lot of dumping is taking place in the international market, where expired products and substandard products are being dumped into third world countries. We have a bill now that we are going to that we are going to take to the Parliament that will protect our economy from being used as a dumping place, for want of a better word, in this regard. And this will protect our local companies. They have been asking for it for a while now, because they have to compete. Our local manufacturers have to compete with a lot of mass-produced substandard goods. And also it affects our population as well, because they're not manufactured to standards. We also, a series of other bills that will come, a bill to abolish preliminary inquiries in criminal matters. I've spoken at length about that. Too many times, years are spent waiting for a preliminary inquiry into capital offences to be concluded in the magistrates' court, whereas most of the Commonwealth have abolished it, and they do paper committals. So you go straight from the magistrates' court straight to the judge and jury for your trials. It makes no sense having you 4 years in the magistrates' court and in remand in the prison. So obviously that will move the backlog again to the High Court, and we'll have to work with that. But we simply can't continue with preliminary inquiries anymore. It's outdated, and the world has moved on. We are going to move in the direction of abolishing it, as almost every country has done in the Caribbean and most of the Commonwealth. We are also going to strengthen our plea bargaining legislation. We have a modern plea bargaining act. For whatever reason, it has not worked, and we have commissioned a review of it. Tell us what's the problem, and why is it not working? Why is it that, the defense and the prosecutor can't sit down and work out an arrangement in some cases where it's appropriate to do so? That's happening all over the world. And it saves a lot of judicial time, saves a lot of time in the criminal justice system. Other countries have been using these things, so we are moving in that direction as well. We have a new modern family violence bill that is also will come on stream. It's almost finished. Domestic violence, family violence, interpersonal violence continue to wreak havoc in this country. And we have had this domestic violence bill now since 1997, I think. That's 25 years ago. It has worked, but domestic violence is as prevalent as it ever was in this country, and we have to modernize it. We have looked at North America in particular and borrowed heavily from jurisdictions such as the state of New York in this new modern family violence bill. The domestic violence bill was civil in nature. This is civil and criminal. The Domestic Violence Bill Act, for example, you get restraining orders alone. The persons who are restrained, they go on to still kill the victim. Here, you have powers under this family violence bill to lock up people, keep them on remand, charge them with criminal offenses. So it's a merger of civil and criminal law, a departure from the domestic violence law, and it's an improvement. That was a deficiency, or that is the deficiency of the domestic violence Act, it lacks penal sanctions. This new family violence bill will have penal sanctions. Food security, that's a big area that we are moving into. You see our agriculture sector taking off. You see many arrangements being made with us and the rest of the Caribbean. We have to prepare Guyana now legally to export food, to process food, to manufacture food in keeping with international standards. So we have a food safety legislation and a food security bill that we are working on to get us to that place where we want to be. A new public health bill, that's a very, very important thing. Our public health law is about 100 years old. Its inadequacies came to the fore when COVID hit us, and we always knew that we had to work on it, but after COVID, it became clear that we have to accelerate efforts. This is a massive undertaking. It's a whole new public health infrastructure that has to be built in every region across this country. That is a work in progress. It's going to take time, and it's a huge undertaking. We are going to do amendments to the Rice Farmer Security of Tenure Act. This is another piece of important legislation for our farmers. There are defects with this law that we have identified decades now. It's a law that was passed since 1958, and really we didn't look back at it, and we are going to make some minor corrections. We have consulted with the farmers and minor adjustments. We have consulted with the rice farmers and millers, and they are all supportive of the amendments. Of course, we have to update our anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism laws. That we have to do because, as I have said before, we are undergoing this assessment during the course of 2023, and that will require us necessarily to make some adjustments to our AML-CFT legislative landscape. I can go on. The Sexual Offences Act is another piece of legislation that we will overhaul in 2023. So I've given you a synopsis there. It's not exhaustive, but that is a synopsis or an insight into our agenda, legislative agenda for the year 2023. So we have a lot of work to do, and I keep saying we get no help from a useless, incompetent, waste of time opposition. So this is a burden that we will have to fetch by ourselves. They will not come to the parliament, they will boycott, and 6 months after you will hear them come and talk about some criticism about it. Imagine Ramjatan speaking on the National Registration Act. You would go back and check my speech. I said in the parliament that none of them read it when we were debating it. None of them read it. It was in the public domain for nearly a year. They didn't read it. 3 weeks or 4 weeks after the bill already passed, after the debate is concluded, Ramjatanaki read it. And he gave a big interview about his views. Where was he when we were debating the bill? He didn't read it. That's the quality of representation that they're offering their people and the people of Guyana. But we have no time to wait for them. We have to push this country forward. And we are going to do it with or without them. That has always been our position. So I've spent a lot of time talking about this legislative agenda, but it's to give you a glimpse of what we plan to do next year in the National Assembly in terms of lawmaking. So we have about 10 minutes left on the program. Let me see what your views are. Yes, the entire opposition is useless, of course. Yes, someone is saying that we have to pass laws to enforce city bylaws. Yeah, we have to find ways and means of getting the city bylaws enforced. I agree. You can't have a recalcitrant negligent city council and they are not enforcing the laws, we have to find other agencies who will enforce the law. So I agree we will have to look at those types of things going forward. No one sector must be allowed to hold this country to ransom. We must always have alternatives that we can use so that progress is not stymied by any grouping of persons or any agency within this nation state of Guyana. Kayum Yassin is watching from Canada. Hello, Kayum. Canada is so cold now. Mingo and Lowenfield court cases. I have repeatedly given updates, and these cases are deliberately being stalled. There is no doubt about that. Now they have begun to make an argument in the magistrates' court that the COI ongoing is likely to prejudice them in the court. The COI is a different proceeding. The COI is not going to determine their guilt. The COI is determining what role they played, if any. It's the court that will determine whether they are guilty of an offense for which they are charged. The COI is not determining culpability in terms of criminal liability. The COI is not prosecuted. They don't have a charge before them. It's the court who have a charge. And the court must ensure that the charge before it is prosecuted. But, of course, they are now going to use that as a basis. And the courts are encouraging it. So I heard some application has to be made to the High Court now to determine whether the rights of the rights to a fair trial, their rights to a fair trial will be affected. It is all a delaying, stalling strategy. But viewers and listeners must understand that in a democracy, the executive does not control the court. We have no influence over the court. All we can do is publicly comment, and you can publicly comment too. People seem to think that I can instruct a magistrate or the president can instruct someone within the judiciary. That can't happen. And we don't want that to happen. But we must be able to criticize the court when the court is not acting properly and efficiently. That's a right of every citizen. Fair comment. As one judge said, the administration of justice is not a cloistered virtue. It must suffer the comment and critical comment of the ordinary man. So let me have your views. So the Feroz Baksh is asking whether there is legislation that will protect consumer, especially against utility. So we have the Public Utilities Act already. We have consumer protection legislation. We have a competitions law. We have a competitions commission that one can go to lodge complaints. We just passed a hire purchase bill. All these are an credit sale agreement bill as well in the hire purchase bill. All these legislation is a network of protection of the consumer. But people don't read, they don't understand. We have to do much more public awareness. All these things we have in the books already, and we're going to pass more. But lawyers have to read, and I suppose government has to do much more PR. But citizens also have to read. Everything is online now. Just like how you listening to me, you can go to the Legal Affairs Ministry or many of the ministries, and there is the laws of Guyana online. You look at the index and you see all the laws that we have. These things, everything is online. Now it's not like long ago where you have to go and get the law from Parliament or from the AG office. You can get it in your bedroom. You can get it in your living room. It's there on your computer. It's there on your phone. and read it. And there are mechanisms in there to protect consumer and consumerism. But we are going to get more. As the country evolves, we are going to get much more legislation designed to protect both the businesses and the consumer. We can't have a one-way street. We have to protect both interests. That's the role of a government, to facilitate, to broker, to compromise, not to side with one side against the other. So my friends, my brothers and sisters, we have come to program time, and this obviously will be the last program before Christmas. Maybe, I don't think it's the last program before the end of the year, but definitely the last one before Christmas. I want to again thank you as we come to the end of the year for being with me for the past 7 years and for being with me for the entire year of 2022. Thank you very much. We are coming to the end of the year. We are we are in the festive season. Please, I want to wish you and your family and your loved ones and your relatives, your parents, grandparents, every single member of your family, a Merry Christmas. And I want to say a prosperous New Year, but I'm hoping that I get an opportunity to wish you that separately. But from now on, for now, I want you to have a very joyous and happy Christmas. I want you to be safe. I don't want you to overdo. I know during the holiday season, many of us tend to overdo. Don't overdo, don't abuse. Moderation must be the word. Be safe and enjoy these beautiful holidays with your family, with your friends, and with your loved ones. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Thank you and good evening.